Hey, I'm Kai, and today I'm checking out the Limbo reverb pedal by Klowra, mainly to see how it stacks up against the Fractal FM3's reverbs. I've been running the Fractal FM3 in the stereo effects loop of the Reload 2, which has been working really well for me, but I would like to substitute this with pedals instead, which is why I reached out to Klowra and asked if they would send me this stereo reverb pedal. I figured the best way to demo this one would be to A/B it against the Fractal and see which one I prefer to see if this holds up. For what it's worth, the Fractal reverbs are one of the absolute highlights of the unit, so if this budget reverb can get even 80% of the way there, I will be more than happy. I'd be remiss not to mention some of the fundamental features of the Klowra reverb pedal. It's a quirky little unit with an awful lot going on, and jumping straight into the comparison section doesn't quite sit right with me. That said, if the tones are what you're here for, then you can skip right on ahead using the chapter markers down below. This is a stereo in, stereo out reverb pedal with 9 different modes to choose from, ranging from things like room, spring, hall, the classic stuff that you would expect, all the way up to more extreme things like wave, which is a white noise generator. It's got freeze functions and infinite functions. You can set up multiple presets on the unit and then morph between them using an expression pedal. There's just so much going on with it. As far as the controls go, they're all fairly basic and sort of what you'd expect to see on a reverb pedal. Decay, brightness, and mix are things that you're probably familiar with already, but it also features some slightly more premium stuff like pre-delay and size. The texture knob does slightly different things to some of the reverbs, but for most of them this just controls the softness of the reflections. For this video I wanted to keep things super straightforward and simple, so I'm running my PRS S2 into the Fractal's Plexi model. I'll quickly show you what's going on in this preset. It's super simple. It's literally just the Plexi 2204 running into the ML Soundlab Mega Green. I've then got the reverb configured, and then it's running out through the stereo effects loop through the Klowra. The first thing I want to compare in this video is going to be a basic room reverb. This is something that I find myself using an awful lot when I need to just add a little bit of texture and a little bit of space to something. This works out really good for pedal and amp demos especially, as it doesn't really step on the main tone too much. It should be a fairly non-intrusive thing that just packs out the stereo field and adds a little bit of studio sparkle. Let's hear how I've got it configured on the Fractal, and then I'll try and match that with the Klowra. One thing I'm noticing with the Klowra is that it's a lot more attacky and sharp than the Fractal reverb is. This may mean that it's less subtle for the situation that I would like to use it for, but let's hear it as a comparison thing and see which I prefer. While the Klowra does have a lot more attack to it, it is sitting back quite nicely, so in the actual context of playing, it fits really well. One thing that I didn't really mention was that the Fractal reverbs can be dialed in to do just about anything. However, I really wanted to see how well the Klowra stacked up to the way that I've dialed in the reverbs. So I think if I was doing my normal amp and pedal demo thing, the Fractal would be my pick. However, if I just wanted a standard room reverb on a tone that I can actually hear the reverb in, Klowra is going to be the one to go for. I would say they're sort of even here really. I don't think I'd be mad with either of these. Next, we're going to try out a plate reverb, and this is sort of my go-to for clean and crunchy tones where I do actually want to hear that reverb. While plate reverbs can be set up in the realms of absolute ambience, I want to set this one up for a standard basic studio plate kind of thing. Let's hear what we've got dialed in on the Fractal first using the large plate. Okay, now we're going to try and match that on the Klowra. Let's hear an A-B between these, because I feel like this one's actually pretty close. This is really much of a muchness. I think there are differences between them, but nothing that would sway me towards one or the other. This plate reverb is seriously good news for the Klowra, as this is one of my favourite reverb types to use. The first of the two bigger reverbs that I want to try out in this video is going to be a church thing. Big ambience but no modulation. Very much a recreation of a real space, albeit a very large one. This is more where I'd be sitting for the ambient side of things, so let's hear the neck pickup split for this one. Again, we'll start with the Fractal and we'll try and match it with the Klowra afterwards. I changed my mind on the pickups, I'm going to go for the middle position split. Let's hear what the Klowra is doing and then we'll do the A-Bs again. I'm not loving the Klowra as much for this one. I think it is leaning more towards favouring the FM3, but it's not too bad. Let's hear the A-B comparison now so that we can hear what the differences are. Yeah, so the Fractal reverb is an awful lot softer, just really gentle, really nice, really smooth, while the Klowra gets pretty shrill. I did play about with the brightness knob to try and get it to sit a little bit better, but without exact control over what EQ frequencies you're targeting, you really can't get there. Finally, I want to go for some of the more extreme, big, effecty kind of reverbs. The sort of Strymon Cloud kind of thing. We're not really going to have one-for-one matches like we did with the other reverbs because this is a very subjective thing that different manufacturers are going to do differently. That said, I'm going to take one of the cloud-style reverbs from the Fractal, the Cumulo Nimbus, and shoot it out against the hazy model in the Klowra. That is a super long reverb trail that adds a ton of ambience and just a nice soft backing thing for your guitar. This is what the hazy reverb sounds like. We've got a little bit of modulation going, but I've turned it back just enough that the guitar sounds natural. switch back over to the Fractal reverb and hear a comparison between them. This is going to be a little bit harder since the decay trails are going to overlap a little bit, but this should give you a good idea of what's going on at least. Again, I found that the Klowra really holds its own and does exactly the same job, albeit to a completely different sound. Now, I should mention this is a sponsored video, as Klowra have sent me out this pedal for demo and review purposes. However, I hope you can use your own ears to decide whether or not the Klowra reverb would be right for you. The Fractal obviously has a ton of parameters that I didn't show in this video that can tweak every single reverb to be even better than I've got them dialed in here. However, I really just wanted to show some basics. While you can control things like the dispersion, the EQ, and the density on the Fractal, the Klowra really just strips it down to everything that you actually need instead. I'm fairly sure the Klowra Limbo reverb is going to be going on my pedal board shortly for some stereo reverb tones so that I can relocate the FM3 back to my desk. That is everything I've got for this video, so thank you ever so much for sticking around to the end. I do really appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, let me know down in the comment section below. Until next time though, I've been Kai.